Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Ask the Wizard, streaming live almost daily. Reconnecting, what did I call it? Reconnecting with, I think, power of the earth? Where is it? Reconnecting with the power of the earth. Often referred to as feminine energy. A lot of, I find, sometimes confusion about all these weird labels. What the hell does that mean in the first place? Well, you know what? In 5 minutes, we're going to talk about that. Mr. Flipchart here, and Rusty is here Rusty is here as well. All right. See you in 5. Hello, how's everyone doing? Another episode of Ask the Wizard, streaming live. How's it going, Rusty?
It is going well. So in today's show, we're going to talk about reconnecting to the power of the earth, which sounds really cool, but from a mechanical perspective, what does that really mean? So today, Russ is going to bring in Mr. Flipchart, and we're going to look at the mechanics of that. You're going to hear words like feminine energy, masculine energy, earth energy, different things like that. And so we're going to try and explain from a mechanical perspective what that means, how these energy flows work, how we can work with them, and how we can use it for our benefit.
Exactly. So, without further ado, Mr. Flipchart. Okay. This is you. And you guys will be very familiar with this, but I'm going to put it right here. So your heart chakra, that's right. So our heart chakra, energy center in the center of our chest. This is where you live. This is where we live. This is who we are, right? We're not our body. We're not our mind. We're definitely not our external circumstance. This is who our soul, our spirit. Again, all these labels are higher selves, whatever label you want to use. All right. Now, for our purposes here, we're going to focus on two primary energy flows. Now, what's important to remember is I was actually just watching on YouTube. He was a marine engineer, and he had a NDE, near-death experience. And a very, an engineer was brought up kind of very mechanical, not spiritual, if I can use those words. And one of the things he talked about was discovering that we are essentially infinite. And so for me, when I use these charts and these diagrams, which we call geometrics, and in this case, I'm going to talk about two primary energy flows. That is grossly oversimplified. But again, for us to understand it, we need to kind of take different aspects of it. And I don't want to say look at them in exclusion, because we're all holistic and synergistic, not just us, but me and you and everyone else is also interconnected very intrinsically. But just so we can understand this one particular, so it's like a map, right? I mean, there's maps all over the world. We're just going to focus on one little aspect of the map and one way to navigate the map, because there's many different ways to navigate the map. Same thing, right? So don't get hung up on when I say two primary energy flows, that there's only two primary energy flows, because there isn't. We're just taking that aspect of it to understand the concepts we're going to talk about. Okay. So having said that, there are two primary energy flows. One flows this way, and we call this one, again, these are labels. We call, oh geez, I have to lock that in, didn't? Masculine energy. There's another one that flows this way that we call feminine energy.
Okay, so does that mean that there's like female and male energy? Because you're using the terms masculine and feminine.
Okay, that's a really important clarification, and this is one of the things that we often kind of get stuck in the weeds, is we think that masculine is male, feminine is female. And well, roughly speaking, you could, make those references. It's not about this energy. It's not about the gender so much as it is the characteristics of the energy itself. So important to remember that masculine and feminine often we can say relates to male, female, but it isn't male or female. So what I mean by that is you, me, it doesn't matter what your physical gender is, we have both of these energy flows flowing through us. They're not gender, they're more characteristically labeled, okay? All right, so masculine and feminine. Now, another label that's often used is you could call this sky, earth and sky, right? So you've got sky. Whoops. Let's just go back to a more neutral color here. I mean, all sorts. There's heaven and earth, right? And of course, you're going to recognize all sorts of these different labels, right? There is, the Mother Earth, Father Sky, right? So sky and earth. I mean, there's all these different labels that relate to this. But for our purposes here, we're just going to call it masculine and feminine energy. The masculine energy tends to flow this way. So just as this is illustrated, this masculine energy flows. So for those of you that are familiar with Reiki, the energy flows in, down, right, through and out, right? It's flowing like this. So using this template, we could say, just this template, we could say that Reiki it aligns with that masculine energy flow. So it comes from above, comes down, through, in, and out, right? Then we have feminine energy. So the feminine energy, or earth energy, right, reconnecting with the earth, it comes from the beneath us and flows in and out. So using the chakra system, the masculine energy flows into our crown chakra, down through. So that's kind of where we harness and we personalize this energy. It's like a river, right? The river is flowing by. You take a glass and you dip it in the river. You're now taking some of that water. Same thing. You're making it personal to you so you can drink it. Same thing. This masculine energy is flowing all the time. And now what we're doing is it's coming in through our crown chakra. So we're able to make use of this energy. The feminine energy flows from beneath. Of course, where does it enter? Think of masculine crown. Feminine comes in through the root. So the feminine energy comes in through the root. Now, what's really cool is, think of that these are rivers, right? So what we're doing is we're sort of, hey, Jesse, how you doing, buddy? We're tapping in to that masculine energy flow. Think of it as river. We're also tapping into the feminine energy flow, another river, right? So as we do that, we're actually now sort of, let me think, I'm going to use a different color. We're actually taking and drawing both of, here, let me do this somewhat mechanically, right? So we're taking it, tapping off like this. We're tapping off like this. It's flowing in and merging here. Now, again, that's oversimplified, but for our purposes here, it kind of helps us understand. These energy flows, right? They're flowing. We're tapping into it here, right? It comes in here, it comes in here, and they blend in our heart, right? Our soul, our spirit, our higher self, and then radiate through our body and everything else. So think of it as a river. A river, you tap a glass doesn't really work. You have a hose or something, right? You tap into it so you can kind of shut irrigation. When I was growing up, I had family down in southern Alberta, and they used irrigation. And back then they used ditches. So they had a big ditch that had water in. So if they wanted to tap into that, they just dug a little channel, and they tapped into that, and they used it over here, right? The river's still flowing, this big ditch. They just tapped into it. Same thing. So we're tapping into it here. How do we tap into it? It comes in here. We're tapping this the feminine one. How do we do that? It taps into it. It comes into the root chakra. So they come through like this. They blend, and then they radiate out. Okay? Just like that. Here's the thing. The topic of this, or the title, was reconnecting to earth energy, right?
Okay, so does that mean like here? I'm out in the forest. Is that what earth energy is?
Yes. Earth energy, feminine energy, it comes from the earth. Now here's where I first understood this. And it was early on in my spiritual journey. I've been on it since 2004, so there you go. Wow, we're coming up to 20 years. Holy cow. 1/3 of my life, sort of. For those of you that are familiar with Red Deer, I was walking through Rotary Park. And my connections might be a little bit jittery, but I'm going with it. I was walking through Rotary Park, and okay. And as I was walking through it, it felt like, or I became aware, it felt like I was sinking into the earth. And maybe another way to say it is the earth was kind of rising up to envelop me. And then Source started talking to me and explaining, using the label feminine energy, earth energy. The labels are really irrelevant. And then started telling me about the characteristics of this earth energy, this feminine energy. And for our purposes here today, the characteristic that I want to focus on is it regenerates and vitalizes, revitalizes, restores, a bunch of words, I guess, our physical body. And this, a few reasons. Because we're so stuck in our head, so the thinking energy you could call masculine energy, feeling energy you could call feminine energy, just for fun. Because we're stuck so much in our heads, that analytical, that thinking, logic, things like this, we've kind of neglected or allowed to atrophy our connection to the earth from a very mechanical perspective, right? And I think my sound and my video might be not linking right. So we're just going to go with it and see what happens. Yeah, I could do that, but that's okay. We're going to go. And so by embracing that and allowing that energy, and this is why spending time in nature, I know it's cliche, but it's so true. Spending time in nature, connecting with the earth, actually connecting with the earth, take your damn shoes off and put your feet in the dirt. Or if there's like a large body of water, a lake, the ocean, anything like that, by just sort of being in the presence of that energy and if you will, breathing it in, right? So what do I mean by breathing it in? As you inhale, you actually kind of visualize that energy flowing up from the earth, like just from down beneath your feet, flowing up. And if you want, you can visualize it kind of flowing in through your root chakra, which is right at the base of your tailbone, and just kind of flowing up into your body. Or you don't even have to get that fancy. Just focus on the earth, focus on your breathing. And as you breathe in, just visualize that energy just kind of flowing up. And I noticed that when I would meditate, especially outside, is it would feel like I was sinking into the earth, or the earth again was sort of flowing up and enveloping me. And why this understanding and this practice is so valuable and important is because that's the energy that rebuilds, that revitalizes, that heals our physical body, that gives us that sort of that passionate energy to be strong, to be flexible at the same time, but be able to move, to be able to flow. You see, the masculine energy sets the direction. It sets kind of the external framework, but it's the feminine energy that really makes things happen. That's what rebuilds us. That's what strengthens us. That's what heals us, right? Because one of the characteristics of this is, yes, it revitalizes our human body. The other thing it does is it grabs hold of all those non-physical traumas, imbalances, energy blockages, on and on and on, and it actually draws them out. Because, of course, as we know, whether it's a physical manifestation of an imbalance or a non-physical manifestation of an imbalance, right? You could say physical, emotional, if you wanted to use those words. They're two parts of the same whole. So by breathing in that earth energy, just being with that earth energy, it's going to revitalize you. And at the same time, it's going to take whatever those imbalances, traumas, blockages, and it's actually going to siphon them off. And I guess there's two ways of saying the same thing. As it's doing that, of course, you feel more revitalized. And the beauty of this is you don't have to know any of this. Just go out and reconnect with the earth. What does reconnect look like, right? Well, here's one example, right?
So here I am in the forest, reconnecting, getting back out into nature. And again, this is so cliche, but it is so true. It's so simple. It's so valuable. And it's almost all you have to do.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be complex. It's just about breathing that energy in and feeling the sensations that you feel. If you can get outside, perfect. You don't have to be. I mean, it's easier. But get outside, smell the smells, feel the sounds and everything. Just embrace that for no other reason than to do it. So do your best to get your logic out of the way, because we don't need to use logic here. What we need to do is surrender to the feminine flow, surrender to that earth energy, because that's where the power is. When 100 years ago, I was an apprentice, then became an electrician. And I'll close with this. And you have voltage and you have amperage. Now, voltages, you may have seen these are like at science fairs and different stuff like that. The big kind of spherical ball, it's a really, really high voltage, but really, really low current. So the person would touch it, the hair would go on in. So static electricity is really high voltage, but really low amperage, right? So it didn't cause any discomfort, damage, or anything, right? Now, I don't know how many of you who have tried to boost a car, and you attach the cables to the good battery, and then you accidentally touch them together. Boy, those things spark, right? They'll actually even melt them. But it's only 12 volts. That's true. But what there's a lot of is amperage, because amperage is the flow, right? The voltage is the intensity, but it's the amperage, it's that flow that actually has the power to either start the vehicle or fry you kind of thing. And you can think of this as the same way. The masculine energy is very important. That's the voltage, very important. Clarity, direction, decisions. Well, where the power is in the feminine energy, in that earth energy. And that's where the power is to heal, to restore, to revitalize, to empower. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I don't know whether the audio and the video have synced up, because it doesn't look like it is at my end, but I don't care, because I really like this. It was a really valuable topic to talk about, and despite technical difficulties, I think we've got it all figured out. All right, share. We're all in this together. See you on the way.